One day, I was scrolling on TikTok. As I watched some South Park content, a movie clip popped up on my For You page. To me, it looked like a couple of Care Bears going through some dark situations, kind of like a Happy Tree Friends or Poppy the Performer kind of deal. Since I love those kinds of things, I looked through the hashtags to see that the clip comes from a film called Unicorn Wars. I did some research and I found more clips that just intrigued me. Something was calling to me to watch this movie. Maybe it was the art style, or the cute bears I was seeing doing horrible things to each other. I didn't know what, so I just had to find out for myself. So, I went to Amazon Prime and rented the movie. Then, I watched it. And oh my god. This movie was really good. Like, I am completely obsessed with it at the moment. It had themes about fascism, war, and even religion, and I thought they were done well. The fact that they used teddy bears and unicorns to portray their message was really smart on their part, because it can show people that these things can happen to anyone. Also, the ending is still stuck in my head as I type this script. So I want to talk about it with you guys. I want to bring awareness to this movie to other people, to see if they start to love it as much as I do, and to also support creators and people with visions and original ideas, especially on an international scale. This is my review of Unicorn Wars. Unicorn Wars is a movie directed and written by Alberto Vasquez. Alberto is a filmmaker and comic book artist who is infamous for his movie Bird Boy: The Forgotten Children. I have not watched this movie yet, but during my research I heard that it too was an anti-war movie like Unicorn Wars is. So hopefully I get to watch it for myself very soon, to see what it's like. Alberto had 3 inspirations when writing for this movie: the Bible, Apocalypse Now, and Bambi. Another thing, by the way, is that Unicorn Wars didn't even start out as a feature film. It was originally a short film called Sangre de Unicornio, or Unicorn Blood, which, by the way, you can watch on YouTube. Anyways, Unicorn Blood was basically the starting point for the story of Unicorn Wars we have today. I think that's pretty neat. Moving on, the movie is a Spanish-French co-production by... oh my god, this movie had the help of a lot of companies, so prepare yourselves. Autor de Minute, Unicorn Wars AIE, Único Estudio Creativo SL, Shami Productions SAS, Productions SARL, and Habano Producciones SL. The movie also got funding from Euro Images. Also, G-Kids is the company that distributed Unicorn Wars in North America. Now that we have all of that out of the way, let's get into the movie. But before we do that, I just want to say that there will be spoilers, obviously. I say that because I want you guys to take the time to watch this movie. Or don't, it's your choice. But I highly recommend it. Right now, Unicorn Wars is up for rent on these streaming services. And there is only an English sub at the moment, if you're fine with that. I don't know when there will be a full English dub, but I do hope it comes soon, because more people have to find out about this movie. We need more original content. Anyways, on with the video. The movie starts out all pretty and nice, all cute and innocent. Nothing bad is ever going to happen here ever. Everything is perfect. We see a unicorn chasing a bunny, having a good old time playing with her. The fun time stops though because the unicorn's mother starts to call her. This is where we find out that the unicorn is named Maria. She calls back to her mom, but the bunny tells her that that isn't her mother calling. But Maria ignores her and runs towards the noise. She runs through a dark and scary forest, but it's not her mom she stumbles upon. Instead, it's some strange-looking structure that kind of looks like a church. Maria walks inside the building and sees a bunch of scary-looking monkeys on the walls and high places. She then looks in front of her to see that it is her mother. She runs towards her, but it isn't actually her mom. It's some weird, terrifying, goopy thing. It then starts to say Maria again. At this point, Maria realizes that the thing calling her this whole time was this gooey and slimy creature. The creature then starts to give chase, and Maria starts to run for her life as the creature is trying to capture and eat her. She then finally escapes, and then we get the intro for Unicorn Wars. Yeah, even as I rewatched this scene, I still had freaking goosebumps running through my body. Just the way the movie went from cutesy to horror was crazy. But hey, At least it left me intrigued enough to stay and watch the rest of the movie. And also, I have to admit, it was really nice paced as well, so good job on the writers for doing that. Anyways, time for some emotional damage. We next get to see an entrance to a Care Bear looking military camp. In the camp, there are some bears training and a surrogate degrading them. Why? Because they suck so much. These guys can't even properly shoot arrows or go over walls. This clearly shows the audience that these cute bears are not made for war. They could be better off doing other things like cuddling each other. But this is a society where they sadly force these bears into war, even though some aren't made for it. After a hard day of training, we then see the bears getting ready for bed. They are cleaning themselves, showering, and brushing their teeth. They then start to flex their best traits, like their proportions, teeth, and even their strength, showing how much these bears love themselves, except for one. We're then introduced to a pink bear who isn't happy with himself. His name is Gordy, and then we're introduced to his brother, Asulin. Asulin tells his brother that he isn't cute or pretty at all. Gordy tells him that he knows this and that he did not look like that before. But Asulin doesn't care and tells him that's how he now looks. He says that he is not beautiful or lovely anymore. So he starts comparing himself with Gordy, showing off how cute he is. Everyone is mesmerized with his pretty looks, including Gordy. But one of the bears starts to call Asulin out. He says that he isn't perfect and that Asulin has bags under his eyes. The thing is, he just covers them up with makeup. The bear calls him ugly and Asulin starts to rage out by punching and scratching him on the floor. But a yellow bear comes to break up the fight. His name is Coco, by the way. Coco then chokes Asulin until Asulin tells him to let go, which he does. He then starts to run after Coco to punch him, but Coco punches him in the stomach, and then Gordy goes over to comfort him. Asulin then says, "Who do you think you are? Be careful. Your actions have consequences." He then pushes his brother away, starts crying, and goes out the door. Okay, so we now know that Asulin is freaking insane and has a lot of anger issues. But don't worry, things are going to get much worse and more emotional. Asulin is then crying on a hill until the pastor comes over to him to ask him what is wrong. Asulin then tells him in tears that no one understands him and that he just wants to be the best possible soldier. The pastor tells him that it is okay to cry in war and that all he needs is a motivation, something to rely on when things seem to be all lost. So he gives him a cute looking Bible. From the teddy bear Bible, we learn why the bears and the unicorns are at war with each other. According to this Bible, all the animals, including the unicorns and the bears, used to live in paradise in the magical forest. One day, the bears found a church, and within the church, they discovered a sacred book with all the knowledge. Thanks to this book, the bears had morals, progress, and even order. Bears were even superior to other animals because they had found God. But the unicorns were jealous of this, so they started a war with the bears. Then, the unicorns had successfully driven away the bears from the magical forest. It is then told to the viewer that whoever drinks the blood of the last unicorn will become eternal and beautiful, and will also be able to bring back God again so everything can be peaceful like it was before. We come to a scene where Asulin is reading this teddy bear Bible while Gordy is laying down next to him. They talk for a little bit and then go to bed until someone pisses the bed. Asulin tells Gordy that it is okay and that he should just put away the sheets and get new ones and act like nothing ever happened. He does that, but Asulin, being the asshole that he is, turns on the lights and tells everyone that Gordy peed the bed. He straight up embarrasses the poor guy. Damn, Asulin is like super mean. Jesus Christ. It's then the morning and the bears are training again. Asulin is trying his best to hit the arrows on the target, but the surrogate says that Coco is much better. So he gives him a medal and makes him leader of the team. It's here that we see how bad Asulin's jealousy is. But through flashbacks, we find out why Asulin is so spiteful and angry all the goddamn time. Since freaking birth, Asulin had always been jealous of his brother Gordy. Why? Well, because Gordy got to spend more time with her mother. He thinks Gordy got the advantage because, well, he was born first and held by their mother first, a few minutes longer. The jealousy towards Gordy and his mother continued throughout his childhood. It got even worse when Asulin's father told him that he and his mother are divorcing. One day, while following his mother into the forest, he finds out the reason why his mom and his dad are separating. It was because she was cheating. This led Asulin to blame the divorce on his mom. He bottled up his anger so much that he poisoned his mom out of spite, which then led her to die. These flashbacks make Gordy and Asulin more interesting characters. Through these flashbacks, the audience can slowly understand why Gordy and Asulin are the way they are, and how that affects their future actions throughout the movie. Oh yeah, after Asulin poisoned his mother, he felt guilty. This guilt continued to his adulthood, which, by the way, affects him a lot in the ending of this movie. Look, I love when movies and shows can give the audience a deeper glimpse of the characters and why they are the way they are. But more on that later. Also, the reason why Asulin strives to be better is because as a kid, his dad told him that he has to be the best. He told Asulin that if he was the best, then anyone would respect him. It's clear that these words came out of a place of sadness. Hell, his father even admitted to him that he himself was mediocre and pathetic, and to not become like him. And oh boy, does Asulin seriously go to great lengths to be the best of the best. You're going to see that later on. Don't worry. We go back to the present to see that the bears are being indoctrinated through religion. They sing a song that goes, "Good unicorn, dead unicorn." After that, the pastor goes on a rant about how the unicorns stole their lands and that the bears are the creation of God. He then starts to yell, "Death! Death to the unicorn!" and everyone else repeats it back. This is quite sad because this happens often in real life. Throughout history and even today, we see some people use religion to justify their awful actions, especially in the cases of war and discrimination, which is exactly what is happening here. But I guess you guys know my video structure at this point, so we will talk about the themes more in depth later. Then, we finally meet the leaders of the military camp, and we see how powerful they are through the visuals. They get to eat great food, while the bears at the camp have to eat disgusting porridge. Another thing to point out is that the higher-ups look like they have never fought in their lives. You would think that military higher-ups would at least have some battle scars or lost limbs, but no, these guys look perfectly fine. When we are introduced to them, we see them talk about how the new recruits suck a lot, but they send them on a mission into the magical forest anyway, because they see them only as collateral damage. Yeah, these guys are very cruel. What's their mission? To pick up another group from the magical forest that should have came back days ago. So, they prepare, say their farewells to their families, and go on their mission. A lot of crazy things happen once the bears go into the magical forest. For example, oh my god, this made me laugh. So, there was this part where Gordy was bandaging a recruit's bitten toe, and then, the recruit flirted with him. How? Well, the recruit asked him if he wanted to see his his private parts. Gordy got super uncomfortable by this and ran away. When I got to this part, I was flabbergasted. Holy crap. I was not expecting that at all. Anyways, as they continue going into the forest, they find some very colorful caterpillars. Caterpillars that are drugs. They are happy about this notion, because at least they can have some form of happiness in this terrifying moment. But the pastor demands to not eat the caterpillars, since it's bad in the eyes of God. The Saragan says to stop with his religious rhetoric at this moment, especially since the recruits need a break. He then starts raging out by saying that in the forest, God doesn't exist, causing him to pull out his knife out of sheer madness and cut the pastor's face. He continues to say that God doesn't demand, he does. This part of the movie plays very well with the themes of how war can make anyone go crazy. And I think the writers here wanted to show how people in war can often lose faith in religion as well, and even hope, that they just don't care anymore because they have seen so much or have gone through a lot. But again, I will talk about that more later. Long story short, the bears eat the drug caterpillars and get high. They see crazy visions like happy ones or terrifying ones. However, the two polar bear brothers get a terrible fate. Once the bears wake up in the morning, they find out that the two polar bears are dead. One of the brothers killed the other during the drug trip, and the other one hung himself after realizing what he had done. When I got to this part, I was like, holy shit. This movie is not fucking around, and I love that. After they buried the two brothers, they continue to walk through the forest. But as they walk, they finally find the other group they were supposed to pick up. But they don't find them alive. All of the corpses in the group are mutilated and distorted. Their heads are chopped, their eyes are taken out. It's just gross. Okay, so at this point in the movie, I came up with a theory that maybe the unicorns hadn't killed these group of bears specifically. You can argue with me in the comments if you would like to, but the reason why I have this theory is because I haven't told you about one part. During the journey before they found this group, the surrogate finds one of those monkeys from the beginning hiding behind a tree. This terrifies him, and it even scared me. So once they find these dead bears, my mind basically says it was probably that slimy thing from the beginning. However, at the end of the day, this is just my theory, and a lot of the things from the movie are chopped up to speculation. But I will talk about this more later, so prepare for that. We then go back to Maria. Maria still hasn't found her mother, but as she goes to the lake to drink some water, her mom finds a way to contact her. Hey, that's a pretty cool ability. It's as if they're in another dimension of some sort. But the movie never exactly explains how these guys can get into that dimension, or how they can even talk to each other within this plane. To be honest, I like it like that. We don't need an explanation for every goddamn thing in a movie sometimes, and that's okay. Anyways, Maria's mom tells her that she didn't abandon her. Instead, she tells her that at some point in life, a parent has to leave their child. That's just the way it is for them. Maria is distraught, asking what she is going to do without her because she is her mother. But her mother says that nature is their real mother, since the forest takes care of them. So it is their top priority to protect the nature of the forest. Okay, that's pretty good. Now we know the unicorn's motivations. Finally, she tells Maria that she needs to be brave and leaves her again. Maria's mom is now walking through the forest. As she walks, she uses her powers to bring back life to the dead parts of the forest. But the bears find her and shoot their arrows at her, which then leads to a battle. The bears end up beating her, but then her corpse starts glowing green, which causes more unicorns to be called. Like I said, the movie doesn't really explain the unicorn's powers and how they work, and that's fine. But anyways, yes, a swarm of unicorns come towards the bears, causing them to battle each other. Most of the bears die, and the only ones living now are Gordy, Azulin, and Coco. Coco is terribly injured, but instead of helping him, Azulin's jealousy gets the best of him. He kills him. Yup, he kills him. Not going to lie, this scene was very intense. I felt like I was losing hope with the bears as I was watching this specific scene. Oh yeah, by the way, after killing Coco, Azulin eats him. At this point in the movie, we start seeing Azulin go over the edge. But don't worry, he is going to fall down that edge in the ending, if you know what I mean. It's now the morning, and Gordy is hunting and cooking a frog. As he cooks the frog, Azulin sneaks up behind him in a bush. Gordy is clearly done with his bullcrap, wanting nothing to do with him. Azulin says he's hungry though, so Gordy gives him the frog since his empathy gets the best of him. They then start to confront each other. The confrontation then leads to them punching and fighting. The next morning, though, they are completely fine because they start eating blueberries together. I thought this was kind of funny because, like, they were just fighting. How are they okay with each other now? The two brothers then rest again. When Asulin wakes up, he finds some unicorns vibing and decides to let his war tendencies get the best of him. He shoots Maria in the leg with one of his arrows, then runs towards her, stabbing her in the stomach. As he is about to kill her, her friend saves her by pushing Asulin off the cliff. He falls down and hits a bunch of rocks and goes down the river. His body then gets caught on a log, and a bunch of soldiers find him unconscious. Once he goes back to the camp for recovery, the camp leaders promote him to chief of the military, since he was supposedly the last surviving member of the group on the mission. Oh, by the way, his face is incredibly fricked up, so they give him a cool-ass mask. I want to talk about this badass design later because I love it so much. Anyways, we now see Gordy helping Maria recover and live in the magical forest. I thought this was beautiful. It helped Gordy realize that not all unicorns are evil, you know? Another thing to point out is that most of the scenes in this movie, including this one, love to highlight how soft and empathetic Gordy is. But sadly, he is going to learn soon that empathy doesn't work with everyone. Back at camp though, Asulin becomes more evil. He got a little too high on his power, so he ordered the whole military to kill the camp higher-ups, which they end up doing. He then starts to wage a complete war on the unicorns by making the soldiers burn the whole forest down. Then the climax begins. The bears and unicorns start battling each other, but they all die. So nobody wins. Instead, it's just Asulin, Gordy, and Maria. Asulin goes up to Gordy and starts confessing to all the horrible things he had done, so he and Gordy hug it out for a little bit. I have to admit, this scene made my stomach turn, and I even started crying a little. You can clearly see how much emotion these characters have, and I love that I can just feel that. But this story doesn't have a happy ending. Gordy goes to Maria to close her wound, but Asulin's anger and jealousy is still there. So what does he do? Well, he kills his brother by smashing his head with a rock. Next, he kills Maria and drinks her blood. But instead of the prophecy coming true, Maria's body turns into that slimy creature from the beginning. First, it sucks up Gordy, and then it sucks up and kills Asulin. Then the slimy creature turns into a human. It walks down the bloody lake as the monkeys from the beginning follow him. And that's the movie. Oh boy, what an ending. So, what do I think? This movie made me go through a bunch of emotions. Happiness, distraught, and despair. And I love it. The ending was just French's kiss. Also, thank God this movie had nice pacing. The way it went from adorable to dark was well done because they did it in a slow and nice way. The development of Asulin's madness also had great pacing as well. Like, I love how we saw him go slowly crazy until the end. Just 10 out of 10 pacing and 10 out of 10 story. Let's now talk about the animation. Okay, come on. The animation and art for this movie is fire. The backgrounds and colors fit well with the characters since they are going for that cutesy yet realistic style. And another thing, when the movie got to like a serious part, the colors would get very dull. I loved that. The colors turning dull really highlighted the seriousness of how bad or sad something was. Like for example, the two polar bears being found dead. Oh yeah, and that drug trip scene was crazy, and I loved it. Like, you can clearly tell that the animators had a lot of fun with those scenes. I love that they could just, you know, let loose. Also, I love the character designs. I love how the bears look, and how all of them come in different shapes and sizes. My favorite design out of all the characters at the moment has to be Asulin. Oh yeah, let's talk about his post-injury design, shall we? That mask and cape is just epic. It makes him look so cool but yet threatening because it really showed how much Asulin turned to the dark side. And his face. Oh my god, his face. The design for his injured face is terrifying and I adore it. I love it when something can just horrify me like that. Overall, his design is super badass. I adored Asulin so much that I even drew him. Also, shameless advertisement here, but follow me on TikTok or Instagram if you want to see my art. Anyways, Gordy's design is amazing too. I really love how cute his floppy ears are and his long snout. Like, I just want to squish him and hug him. By the way, the design really highlights how soft and empathetic he is compared to his confident brother. And the unicorns. I love how the unicorns are 3D animated. It makes it look cool. Oh yeah, and fun fact, I thought this movie was animated in an industry-standard program like Maya, but no, this movie was fully animated on Blender. Blender! You also have the expressions of the characters and how exaggerated they are. Like, when Asulin killed Coco, that face of madness scared me, but I loved it so much. Overall, the animation is awesome, and I can't wait to see what Alberto brings next for 2D animation. Now, let's talk about the themes, shall we? At this point, it's obvious that Unicorn Wars is more than just an anti-fascism movie. It's also an anti-authoritarianism movie and also an anti-militarism movie. So overall, it comes to be an anti-war movie. But all of these themes tie together with the fact that basically, war can ruin anyone. And when I say anyone, I mean anyone, including a freaking teddy bear. Moreover, the movie also shows the audience how things like religion and propaganda can help people justify their awful actions, and how brainwashed people will do these awful things without questioning or speculating. There is also the fact that there are people who aren't even suited for war, but sadly they get thrown into it anyway because of propaganda they are told all their lives, and because they are literally forced to go to war. You also have higher-up leaders, like the camp higher-up bears, or Asulin for example, who don't really care that they're basically sending out people to their deaths. They don't see them as people, they see them as tools to progress their awful goals. Additionally, the bears were also brainwashed to believe that the unicorns were awful creatures without even properly meeting one. This is why Gordy is also important, because he represents that empathetic side. He learned that not all unicorns are bad, and that they have feelings like them too. Then, there is also the surrogate losing faith in religion with the pastor because of everything he had seen. But even though he probably lost faith, he was still brainwashed by the anti-unicorn propaganda. Oh yeah, let me add a little more to Gordy's empathy. Like I said, it was like a great power he had, since it helped him realize that unicorns aren't so bad. But it was also his weakness in the end. He wanted to save Asulin, but it was too late. He was already in way too deep. That's another message the movie had. We want to save people, especially our family members, but a lot of the time, it's truly too late for them. And if you don't leave them, you're going to suffer a lot. We want to see the good in everyone, like Gordy does, no matter how deep they are into war, or something terrible. But after Asulin killed Coco, Gordy should have left them to die. But like I said, his softness and his niceness got the best of him. It even continued after he waged a whole entire war and everyone died. That should have been his final sign. But we all saw how things ended, didn't we? He had to learn his lesson the hard way. Oh yeah, can we talk about the ending real quick? So Alberto said this about the ending. The monster in the film functions as a prologue and an epilogue. It's serving as a metaphor for what's coming later. The monster for me is a god without form, a god adored as a leader, but a god that's still yet to evolve. When the end comes, the god takes form, and the prophecy of the Book of the Bears is fulfilled. It's a magical, mysterious element that's there to reinforce the concept of what violence does to a society. Clearly, the ending is up for interpretation because he said, the ending for me, which leads me to talk about my own interpretation of the monster and the ending. The way I see it, the monster that turned into the human represents the good and bad sides of life or war. That's why Maria's body turned into the slimy creature, because it represents the natural side of humans. I say this because the unicorns were super connected to nature and protecting the magical forest. And then it sucked up Gordy because it represents the good and empathetic side of humans. And finally, the monster sucked up Azuline because it represents the bad side of humans, the anger, trauma, and jealousy. All of these three were sucked up by the monster because it represents all of those sides in war, or like I said, in life in general. At least that's the way I see it. I want to know your guys' interpretation in the comments down below. I want to read about different perspectives from other people. Moving on, remember when I talked about my theory of the slimy creature killing the bears? Well, I have a theory about these creepy monkeys and the slimy creature. So what if they knew this was going to happen? Or what if they were pulling strings? I say this because as I was rewatching the movie, I saw the monkeys in different shots where the characters were. For example, when Maria was about to bring the forest back to life, they show the audience a shot of the monkeys kind of watching her as they eat their food and sit on a tree. Or that monkey hiding behind a tree and looking at the surrogate. You know, those little details. When I watched the movie for the first time, I thought we were going to find out the real origins of how the bears actually started hating the unicorns. But looking back, I'm kind of glad that question was left unanswered, because there would be too much happening in the movie and I would have gone crazy. I bring this up because who was actually attacking those bears? Was it really the unicorns who provoked them, or was it the slimy monster? Because I swear, it had to be, because the monkey was looking at the surrogate behind the tree before they continued on to find the corpses full of bears. I don't know, but this continues to be on my mind sometimes. Like, I'm telling you, I'm obsessed with this movie at the moment. I can't help it. It left too much of an impact on me. But hey, at the end of the day, it's just a theory. A game theory! In summary, everyone needs to go watch Unicorn Wars. Please watch it. If you watch it, you're supporting creators who actually want to make good movies and actually have passion within them. This movie left a huge impact on me. It really did. Like, Alberto did amazing, and I appreciate him for that. The animators also did really well as well, so kudos on them. This movie has officially become one of my all-time favorites, and I hope to see more movies with different styles and varieties like this one in the future. I can't wait to see what Alberto brings next for animation. He is totally going to get far. Also, I want future generations to watch Unicorn Wars as well because of the message. This movie is totally going to live on. And also, thank the TikTok algorithm for introducing me to this movie as well, because holy moly, do people from different parts of the world seriously have to see this movie. And thank you for making it this far into the video. Also, thanks for 300 subs. I can't believe I made it this far already. That's insane. Thank you. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more content in the future, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.